All right, let's talk about one of the most incredible stories in tech. It's about a database that, believe it or not, started out in a university lab, and somehow it's now the backbone of a huge chunk of the modern internet. We're diving into the story of PostgreSQL and how it completely transformed in the age of the cloud. I mean, you really gotta wonder, right? How does a project run by volunteers, a community project, not just survive, but actually go on to conquer the cloud? An era dominated by these massive tech giants? That's the big question we're gonna dig into. So, to really get how it got here, we've got to rewind. Let's go all the way back to the beginning, back to a world before the cloud changed, well, pretty much everything.
Okay, try to picture this. It's a world where if you want to launch a new app, you have to physically buy servers. I'm serious. You're ordering racks of hardware, waiting weeks for them to show up, then lugging them into some freezing cold server room, and then you're stuck maintaining them forever. It was crazy expensive, super slow, and every time you needed a little more space, it was a massive, painful expense. And that is the world that PostgreSQL was born into.
So out of this world comes PostgreSQL, or, Postgres, like most of us call it. It started as this academic thing, built by a community of really passionate volunteers, and it got famous for one thing, more than anything else. It was just rock solid, super reliable. It was this incredibly powerful, dependable database that you'd install on those servers you had to go out and buy yourself. But see, that was the big catch, right? Its amazing power was always, always limited by the actual physical hardware you could afford to buy and manage. And then, well, everything changed. A huge technological shift started to happen. One that was going to yank Postgres out of those little server rooms and throw it onto a massive global stage. And you know what I'm talking about. The Great Cloud Shift. So through the 2000s, you see companies starting to dip their toes in the cloud. But the real game changer came in 2009. Amazon Web Services, AWS, launches this thing called RDS, the Relational Database Service. And what they did was offer Postgres as a managed service. Now, what does that even mean? It meant that developers didn't have to worry about the hardware anymore. No patching, no backups. Amazon did all of it for you. It wasn't long before Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud jumped in with their own versions. And just like that, Postgres wasn't just software anymore. It was basically a global utility. You could just pull out a credit card, click a few buttons, and you were up and running. You can't overstate how huge this was. This wasn't just some small improvement. No, this was a complete revolution in how we build software. Suddenly, for any developer, any company out there, achieving massive global scale was on the table without having to spend a fortune on physical machines first. The barrier to entry didn't just get lower, it basically just collapsed. And this quote here from a cloud engineer, it just nails it. The entire focus for a dev team could finally shift. You're no longer thinking about hardware, you're thinking about what you're actually trying to do, which is build an amazing application. This was the moment. This is when PostgreSQL went from being just a powerful tool to becoming a truly global enabler. But you gotta ask, why Postgres? I mean, there were other databases around, so why did this specific open source project become the darling of the cloud giants? Well, it turns out the way it was built from the very beginning gave it this massive, you could almost call it an unfair advantage. It really boiled down to three key superpowers. Okay, first up, extensibility. This is huge. It meant developers could literally add their own features and data types. You didn't have to wait for some official release cycle. Innovation could just happen at lightning speed. Second, it had native support for something called JSONB. The simplest way to think about this is it let you store flexible, kind of messy data, like a user profile or a product catalog, without forcing it into a rigid box. This was absolutely perfect for the fast-paced apps everyone was building for the cloud. And then, the third thing, the real knockout punch, vendor independence. And vendor independence, this was all about giving businesses confidence. You could adopt Postgres and know you weren't getting stuck. You weren't getting locked into one company's proprietary ecosystem. You had the freedom to move your data between AWS, Azure, Google, or heck, even back to your own servers if you wanted to. That kind of flexibility, it was an absolute game changer. So you've got this powerful combo, right? It's super accessible now, and it has these incredible technical strengths. Postgres was finally ready for its final act, to become the default, the go-to database for a whole new generation of tech. Yeah, just think about the modern tech world for a second. Kubernetes, containers, microservices, all that stuff. In this brand new world, the new cloud-native startups, they didn't just kind of try out Postgres. No, they embraced it. It became their default choice, the reliable foundation they built all their innovative new products on. And from there, adoption just exploded. It wasn't just for the cool startups anymore. Now, we see it absolutely everywhere. You've got it in fintech and healthcare, where reliability is everything, all the way up to the biggest Fortune 500 companies. It stopped being a niche tool and became a universal standard.
And this quote here really just sums it all up perfectly. Postgres didn't just adapt to the cloud. It came to define the cloud. It literally set the standard for what a powerful, reliable, open-source database was supposed to be in this new era.
When you step back and look at it, the journey of PostgreSQL is just a remarkable story of open-source success. It's really a testament to how a project driven by a community can be so incredibly adaptable and resilient. I mean, it thrived through its academic days, its volunteer era, and now this global cloud era. So the story of Postgres is really powerful proof, isn't it? It shows that great technology, when it's built on open principles, can actually shape the future. And that leaves us with a really fascinating question to chew on. If an open source project could become the standard for the entire cloud era, what's the next big thing it's going to define?